On a global news scale, yeah, 2020 was pretty much a massive steaming coil of corn-speckled badger excrement. But I did something this year that radically changed 2020 for me, and really my whole life. I quit the internet. Now, not totally. I downloaded a draconian internet filter, blocked all social media, national and world news, and anything else that might suck my time or my will to live, and locked it with a password that only my wife knows. So yes, I have to go through my wife to get on the internet now. And as the saying goes, ignorance is bliss. But I'm not saying to go bury your head in the sand and ignore or deny important global issues. What I'm saying is that the perpetual ad-driven soap opera that exploits real people's tragedies to keep us afraid and addicted to our screens is probably better in much, much smaller doses than we currently consume. After all, is it truly ignorant or irresponsible to be transfixed on the latest pixels over which we have no control, while at the same time being blind to the tangible and often wonderful reality happening right around us within our own locus of control? Now, naturally, without access to social media, my social media presence tanked. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of it. And this lack of interactivity on my part has shed a load of patrons and producers, and rightfully so. If I'm not interactive and responding online, then I don't really deserve the support. And the Rona also took a thick plopper right on my rally schedule too, so business overall has been less than stellar this year, but money is not everything, and I'd much rather have a healthy mind than a fat wallet. I realized that I needed to make some big changes. I've always had ups and downs with depression for years, but this year I battled really hard with depression. I mean, really hard. Like, I battled like my life depended on it, because it did. Quitting the internet was a huge step in the right direction, but only part of the battle plan. I had to fight back with every tool at my disposal. I got back on meds and switched until something worked. I went back to therapy and talked about some really difficult stuff. And the biggest help, surprisingly, the biggest risk that I took in my war for sanity is I got vulnerable. Like, cry on the internet for 25 minutes in front of 25,000 people, vulnerable. And you guys, with your stories and your struggles and your prayers and your advice, you saved my life. And holy crap, guys, my 2020 was actually amazing.
Thought the battle was all but won, but you had swords and they had guns. To realign is all you want, but your blood started pumping and your heart nearly choked. Who is your heart beating for in this life? Bending over backwards just to know tonight.
So despite the coves on the rally front, 2020 was a fantastic year. This January, I got to meet college friends Steve, Scott, and Dave. Philip joined the rally on a new WR, and Mike Varness started the year as a pretty timid but fiercely dedicated writer who listened to and applied every technique I suggested on that schooling. Later that month, my great friend Matt Rauscher came back from Canada and ate a ton of mustard, and I met good friends Corey and Chad on their Mata GPXs. Stephen Chen and Kyle Doman came down on beefy 650s, and Bishop Brent joined us on his new GPX. In February, I met former Navy SEAL Alan, who came with returning shredder and awesome friend Jeff Burton. Jared Clement and Brad Rube returned to absolutely rock the Badlands, as did the legendary Josiah, who brought his awesome brother James, and nearly spent $150 on a rental brake lever. In March, the Coves finally hit us, but despite this, I still got to meet Brent and Jeff, who I am stoked are coming back in 2021, and Joe, who brought some incredible Canadian honey for a fantastic schooling rally. In April, Bill and Steve made time in the middle of a massive off-road Jeep tour to come and ride with us, and Scott also braved the global pandemic to come ride in Southwest Utah. Tony Subbo is a total regular now. He practically lives in Utah with me, and I love to see him. I also met Todd and his amazingly decked out bikes, and Doug was up for some seriously gnarly challenges on his beautiful Husqvarna. At about this time, I got to meet Travis Brock from Bike Bandit and Every Single Sunday and his friend Josh, and man, can those dudes rip. In May, the lockdown was really getting to me, and I couldn't take it any longer, so I needed an intervention. So we had an Emergency Psychological Intervention Convention, or EPIC Epic. Warren Yeager, aka Elcar's ADV, was back from New York and utterly shredding on his GPX. His riding improvement over the year was shocking, and I couldn't believe the trails he was riding since he came to a schooling rally last year. Chad and Corey Hahn returned to conquer the butt crack, and I seriously love those guys, as did their neighbor and awesome rider Jason, who I am praying for because he's had some pretty gnarly health issues, which I know that he can beat. But if you guys don't mind saying a prayer for Jason, that would be awesome. The spring season finished off on a mellow and kind of somber note. Jeff made his way from the East Coast on his trusty Royal Enfield Himalayan, and Randy Martinson wasn't far behind with a trailer full of brand new bikes. They joined me for the final scenic rally I'll ever host. In the summertime, my friend Jeff Burton was kind enough to invite me on a ride up north with Special Forces Alan and a few other awesome friends, which was a welcome blast, even though I banged up my leg pretty bad. Summer was kind of a rough break this year. I feel like I need riding to stay sane, so the fall rallies were a huge blessing when they started again in October. Greg came out to a rally as a birthday present, courtesy of his awesome wife. Stephen Chen and Kyle Doman were back again within the year, Draxing Sklounce and McCringle burying them Froggy Terrys. And Chaplain John basically made sure that my butt was covered when my beloved DRZ got mashed by a side-by-side. Later that month, I finally got to meet a longtime fan and friend, Glenn Weeks, and the nomadic Nathan Valentine came back for another rip. I met an extremely kind dentist named Rodney, who was very nice to help my son with some dental stuff, and a man with an infectious smile, a heart of gold, and a bike that barely ran, Thomas, aka the Sputter Duck. And I'm so glad that Rob didn't order any CIA drone strikes on us after our long and sordid conspiracy theory sessions in the desert. Later that month, Nick Carter returned for his second rally and realized that when it comes to bidets and the sensitivity of one's backside, I am a total liar. He arrived with a rally regular and great friend of mine, Stephen Morris, who realized that I'm a total liar when it comes to the size of water crossings too. We were all kind of sad that John Beeman couldn't make it this time, but I was stoked to see that he recently booked a 2021 fall rally, and happy that Nick brought his good friend and just all-around awesome guy Jay, who sold me his motorcycle mid-rally. November was and always is the prime riding here in Southwest Utah. David Leonhardt was back with his awesome son Jake, who we totally didn't make uncomfortable in any way whatsoever. Michael Varness was back, but this time on a brand new, decked out KTM 300 with a year's worth of practice, fully ready to shred. Andrew Holland returned on his trusty WR, which he totally put to work this time, conquering everything he threw at it. It was awesome to meet Russ, who had just had some pretty major surgeries, but ripped despite them. and Oron was also awesome to meet. He came up with a brilliant intro which we used in the Send It video. Later on, I was pumped to finally ride with some legendary locals, even if it wasn't a rally. So I've known Josiah Harvey for a while. He came out to Shred a few years ago with Al G and Luke, and it was so good that he moved here. Aaron Putnam is always awesome to ride with, and I finally got to meet local single-track legends Mike and Corey. Then on the final rally of the year, it was great to see Glenn Weeks again for his second rally in just 2 months, along with Rodney Thornell, who pushed it really hard this time and improved a ton. Randy Martinson returned too, all the way from Florida, but this time to really play in the dirt. After riding my 300 Sparta and witnessing the utter glory, he actually bought his own brand new Husqvarna mid-rally, as did the indomitable Jim McBride, as he was here for his second schooling rally. And all through the year, I've been blessed to ride with one of my best friends and heroes, Garrett Waslin, who pushes me harder and teaches me more than anybody else. It's his fault that I got a 300, and I'm grateful for every minute he puts up with me because his riding is on a whole other level. I've also been so grateful to ride with another hero of mine. Even though he's quite a bit younger, he's still an absolute inspiration. It's Gabe Kraust of Torture Test magazine, who recently podiumed on a 24-hour Ironman on a Suzuki DR200. Gabe is perseverance personified, and I'm grateful to even know him. The same goes for Jesse Kimball, who I didn't get to ride with too much this year, but hopefully next year we'll get to adventure more together. My cousin Dallas is also a huge inspiration to me. He only started riding again a few years ago, and last year he finished first in his class through the racing season, so I look forward to learning more and riding more with him. I guess a disappointment this year was that I didn't get to ride with my brother Jay. He is my best friend and my number one adventuring buddy, so hopefully I'll be able to ride with him again soon. But it wasn't just the rallies or the motorcycling that made 2020 so epic. I realize now that the whole year has been absolutely wonderful, one of the best years of my life, and that's not sarcasm. It's been a beautiful year, full of adventure, full of family, and yeah, full of weakness and pain and hardship. And through that bitter miracle of contrast, that pain and suffering, literal suffering, has made all the good in my life, all the beautiful things, just that much more incredible. It has made the process of healing my mind feel miraculous, and my gratitude for the progress that I've fought for in this battle against madness is indescribable, as the contrast of such low, hopeless darkness now seems to be replaced and illuminated with bright and full and clear hope and purpose and meaning. So according to the either red or blue but never purple news networks and the weaponized social media algorithms, 2020 was supposed to break my spirit, and it very nearly did. But they didn't count on me looking away from the screens and all the horror, and instead seeing all the good within my own walls, within my own world, within my own desert. And what I found was healing and peace and love and joy, and a boatload of awesome new trails.
Don't worry about. Whoa, Jay just went full on adventure core. Pulled those. Whoa.
I love you guys.
In the history books, 2020 will go down as one of the worst years of the century. But in my journal, 2020 will go down as the year I met and solidified so many great friendships. It'll go down as the year that I found myself, the year that I made so much progress in healing my mind, as the year I connected with my kids and bonded even closer to my wonderful and beautiful and steadfast wife. So thank you, 2020, for an epic, unforgettable year. And despite an already rocky start, here's to an even better 2021. Much love, ladies and gentle tubers. Ever ride out.